Hey, you're watching the Waffle Press podcast. Officially watching on Google Hangouts. Usually I do this with Emily, but I'm going to start switching it up more beyond TV Hangouts to movie topics nowadays. And for the month of May, originally this was going to be in April, but for the month of May, I will be discussing movies and directors specific to the Blockbuster season and bringing on individual guests to discuss things. And today, my guest is a good friend of mine from audienceseverywhere.net. Sean Fallon, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, Crespo. It's good to be here. Well, be in Australia and be there. Modern technology. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Beautiful.
And yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm happy to be here.
Tell us about yourself.
Okay, cool. Yeah, my name's Sean, and I obviously I write with you on Audiences Everywhere. I'm from England, but I live in Australia. What else? I also write sort of fiction-y stuff on my blog called theaquaticbind.com. You can also find me on Twitter at theaquaticbind, and I currently have an ebook. It's 100 short stories, but each short story is only 100 words long. That's on Amazon. It's called Marrying the Animal, so go buy that because it's a masterpiece. That's what I keep telling myself. But yeah, that's me basically.
All right, awesome. Well, all links to all of that stuff will be down in the doobity-doo down below. And
awesome.
Yes, definitely check all that out. Definitely his stuff on audienceseverywhere.net because Sean's an excellent writer, and I'm a little jealous of that because what he can say in 100 words, it takes me like 1,000. It's kind of embarrassing, but whatever. Well, today our topic is the Terminator franchise because those are more or less blockbusters. And Sean, you chose this to discuss for this occasion. Why did you choose Terminator?
Well, I obviously like Genesis coming out, or Genesis, or however we're pronouncing it, is obviously coming out this year, and it sort of made me look back, and I was thinking about mostly Terminator 1 and 2, just being just fantastic sci-fi movies. Great, T2 is a great sequel. I'm sort of a bit homesick for like old school Arnie at the moment. I think that's something that there's no sort of modern equivalent of that sort of ridiculous human being that does these incredible movies that seem to just be ridiculous, I guess would be the word. I don't know, I sort of miss that. I think I've been doing a lot of, like, for Audiences Everywhere, looking at a lot of serious movies, and sometimes you need to go and have a little palate cleanse, and mine's the Terminator films.
Oh, okay. I like that, yeah, because I sometimes feel that too. Like, I tend to stray more into the blockbuster type stuff, and then so I'm kind of the reverse. Like, my palate cleanse will be like a Blade Runner or a Schindler's List if I really want to get depressed just for a day. Sometimes I get too happy and I need to ground myself. Yeah, well, that's what the Aviators are for, also for our Terminator discussion. No one caught on yet, but I like that. Yeah, Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 are definitely pretty big highlights of movies, just in general, like of cinema. And what would you say is the best Terminator? Because there's no really wrong opinion. I think people are just naturally straying to 1 and 2 because the last two are kind of, even they might have their defenders, but they're mostly neglected, and for good reason.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I'd probably say Terminator 2 would be the best one. It was definitely a staple of the Fallon household when I was growing up. Like, I remember my mum and dad going to the cinema to see Terminator 2, and the next day over breakfast, my mum was like, right, and then this guy, he's got like knives for arms, and then this happens, and my mum was like super excited about this film, and she's like, and then he pulls out the gun, and he's like, hasta la vista, and the guy goes, pow, and he's like all made out of ice, and that's my mum basically when I was growing up. So that was Terminator 2 was always a big part of my growing up, because as soon as it came out on video, we went and got it and all sat and watched it and was just like, oh, this film's incredible. And yeah, so it's always reminds me of my mum and dad, to be honest, which is quite weird.
I don't know. I mean, that's a good story, and that's nice that it reminds you of your family. Like for me, like Last Crusade is my thing. Like, it reminds me of my dad because I watch it all the time with him, and it's a father-son movie, so it's like perfect. Yeah. But for me, in the Terminator franchise, I'd say for the longest time I was T2.
Yeah.
And then now, as I've gotten a little older, I'm more strict on Terminator being the best of the franchise, just because it's Terminator 2 has more of what I like, actually. Like, I'm a bigger straight action guy than a quasi horror, sci-fi, noir thrilling blends. But and it even has that nice message at the end, like there's no fate but what we make. Like that is one of the most beautiful little quotes in cinema to me. Like that always gets me right here in that hole in my chest. But Terminator, I feel, is a more perfectly constructed movie.
Yeah.
And definitely scarier, but that's a stylistic choice, I think. And I think that Arnold Schwarzenegger gives a better performance in that one. And I do say actual performance, too, because I know some people just think he just has to stand around. But who's an actress in Fast 6? I can't remember her name. Gina Carano. There you go. All she has to do in those movies is stand around and fight, and she can't do any of it believably except for the action scenes. So to this day, I hold that Arnold Schwarzenegger gives great performances in the Terminator movies. Yeah, and both are incredible little pieces of cinema. I prefer the first term one.
Well, I think that's one of those things. I think it is like you say, it's an age thing. Like I know, like for me, when I was little, with like Star Wars, it was Return of the Jedi all day. Loved it. And then as I got older and I sort of went back and rewatched Empire, you're like, oh no, this is a masterpiece. But when I was young, I was like, oh, come on, I just want to see spaceships fight. I just want to see lightsabers. You know, I used to always, when I was little, fast forward the Yoda scenes. I used to find them really boring.
Oh no.
Now you rewatch it and they're like some of the best scenes in the film. You know, when he raises the X-Wing up and all that, and it's awesome. Yeah, that's it. But when I was little, I was just like, oh, I just want to see spaceships. And then as you get older, you sort of go, oh, wait, no, I might have made a mistake here. And I think you're probably saying like Terminator 1, Terminator 2. Terminator 2's got all the bells and whistles. It's bright. There's the special effects. There's the one-liners. It's a bit funnier. But Terminator 1 is probably the better film. You know what I mean? Like it is it's well constructed. It is a horror film masquerading as an action film. I mean, it would be hard to sort of say now, like we're talking about blockbusters, it would be hard to say that the first Terminator is a blockbuster in terms of like what we consider a blockbuster now. You know, it's not, you can't say Terminator 1 is the same sort of film as Winter Soldier or Jurassic Park or Jaws. You know, it's very much, it's a horror film that just had a $500 million sequel, you know.
Was the first Terminator independently financed? I can't remember, and I don't have that in my notes, so I'm unprofessional today.
It's made by some production company that doesn't exist anymore. It's like Orion or Cicero or some sort of like, there's the company that's since collapsed or whatever. But I don't know. If I found out that it was independently made and made on like a shoestring budget, I'd sort of believe it, you know. Which is not a detriment to the film. I think it does really well with what it has. I mean, the special effects haven't aged particularly well, but they're very, they do their job. I mean, they don't take you out of the film. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that always struck a chord with me with the first two movies. Like with the first one, the special effects maybe not up to par with what we're used to anymore, but again, sufficient for what the film requires. In Terminator 2, even the way it's filmed, it feels modern. It feels like it could have been made today, more or less. Yeah. You know, apart with like the 90s grunge looking dudes and stuff. But it's the special effects are kind of better than some stuff in theaters once in a while, you know, like any smorgasbord of blockbuster mayhem. Sometimes it pulls you out of the movie because like, oh, this is just all CGI. And here you get the digitally imposed liquid metal Terminator, the T-1000, which actually leads me to the next question. What do you think is the best Terminator robot in the series?
In terms of like which is the most entertaining, or if I was Skynet, who would I be sending out more?
If you were Skynet.
If I was Skynet, it'd be T-1000. It can turn into people. It's essentially made of knives. It can do that thing where it like out of the carpet. You know, it kind of in the mental hospital where the carpet like sweeps up and he goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really explaining that very well. A lot of sound effects. Probably couldn't have written this, but yeah.
No, that was in the script. James Cameron was writing it. He was like, "Okay, the noise has to make is sir. You sure? Yeah. If that's not it, you're fired."
Yeah, get out. The hell out of here. Yeah, I think that is the best one. I think it's interesting because, like you say, Terminator 1 is so scary because Arnie is just like a blunt instrument, just relentless, just constantly moving. Whereas like Cameron does so well because the thing with like Terminator 1 and 2 that he does so well in terms of like making a sequel is he essentially rehashes the same plot, but just moves every character one step to the side, and it becomes a new movie. You know, Sarah becomes Kyle, the T-1000 becomes Arnie, or the other way around, or whatever, and then so on, and everyone just moves, and it just makes it totally new. And to sort of have at the end of Terminator, you're like, oh yeah, Arnie's perfect, he's this, it's like this perfect machine, and then you go, no, we can go one better and make this whole much more terrifying thing that can look like anyone, that is relentless, that will stab you through a milk carton, you know, that will mess you up like. And I think that's Cameron's sort of gone off the boil in recent years, but I think when he does his sequel game is very strong. You know, he knows how to take a film and then just move it just slightly, and then make, you know, Aliens and Terminator 2 being like obviously his two sequels, to take iconic horror films, I guess, and then go, okay, now if we move them a little bit this way, it's pretty much the same idea, but 20 times better, or, you know, different at least, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, you got that spot on. Like, it's different but familiar. There you go. It's new and old at the same time. Sort of like how the new Star Wars trailer feels like, oh, everything's practical, but it looks more with modern J.J. Abrams type filmmaking. And
That's it. Yeah.
James Cameron, excuse me, he has a knack for that with sequels, and that's probably the one thing I'm anticipating. Like the only thing I'm actually looking forward to with his Avatar sequels, because I'm not a fan. I admire the technical aspects. This wasn't originally in the conversation, but what do you think of Avatar? I don't think we've ever talked to you about that.
See it. I would see it when it came out. I think I saw it a couple of weeks later. Yeah. I think the thing about Avatar is like I enjoyed it, but it was massively predictable. That's been really weird. Is like obviously it was a super successful film, like the most successful film, but it's just left like no cultural imprint. If you know what I mean? It's like people. If you think of like Titanic, another like super successful Cameron movie, that's still sort of a reference you could make to some, you know, in a TV show. If they make a reference to Titanic, it's still there. It's still sort of relevant, even 10 years, 20 years later.
Yeah, almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, you know, like a Celine Dion song, or them standing on the front of the boat, or just any part of it. Whereas Avatar sort of like was this massive thing, and then just didn't leave anything. You know, it didn't change anything. There wasn't like 20 Avatar knockoffs that came out the next year, or, you know, there's no lines of dialogue that people quote. You know, if there was a spoof of it on SNL, you'd be like, why? Who cares? You know, that's just the weirdest thing. It was like, for 2 minutes, it was the biggest thing in the world. It was like an internet meme as a movie. You know, it was like everyone was talking about it, and then it was just old hat like that.
Oh my God, it just like blew my mind. Yeah, it's Avatar is just a meme, and memes are banned in Russia now, so no one can watch Avatar. But
that's it.
No one in Russia can watch Avatar anymore, because if Avatar is a meme, then memes are banned in Russia. Russia's free.
Yeah. Yeah, Russia's more free than we are.
Yeah. No, but Avatar it's a weird little beast of a movie. I wrote about it earlier this year on Audiences Everywhere, but I came to the conclusion that we just needed a movie like that. Sure, it's not great, but compared to a lot of other not good things that came out in 2009, it was serviceable, and I think that caused a lot of people to go crazy over it. And then it came out in December, so no competition in the box office whatsoever. Yeah, it was a home run.
And it was sort of like the first like big 3D film that was sort of made in 3D. You know, so if you watched it with 3D, it was a better experience. It was like, what did I get? When I went to see Avengers at the cinema, I went to see it in 3D, and it was pointless because it was just really dark. You know, like you had the glasses on. I took the glasses off; it was all blurry. But I was like, so the costumes are really bright, and why are we not seeing that? Because I've got these shitty glasses on. You know, it's I don't know. 3D winds me up.
Yeah, there you go. That's the one cultural imprint Avatar left. It made movies worse because now everything has to be in 3D.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
All right, well, moving back on to Terminator. What movie do you think will benefit from having a Terminator hunting down the protagonists for whatever runtime?
I guess this one, I haven't really watched these movies, but I think you're probably more knowledgeable. Probably a Fast and Furious. And the Terminator chasing them. That's the first one that jumped into my head. Like, if we're gonna, keep the Fast and the Furious thing going, I feel like they've got to move into a new genre. So horror, sci-fi might be the way forward.
Fury 7, Jason Statham is pretty much a Terminator. He's an unstoppable machine of a man. So yeah, there you go. They got your idea. Good one.
That's it. They're moving in that direction. I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head, because you got to think like a movie in which people are being, because it's the sort of chase movies, aren't they? I guess like a Terminator.
Or here, it doesn't even have to be in the same genre though. Like, think of a comedy with actors you really dislike. Put the Terminator in there to kill them.
Oh, okay. Well, just I'm not anything with like I'd see Paul Blart Mall Cop 3 with the Terminator. I'd be pretty impressed with that. That would be fine. Just him getting battered in a mall by Arnie for 90 or so minutes. I'd be all about that. That would do it for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that one. I saw a comment on Twitter about how Paul Blart 3 should be about him accidentally shooting a kid, and then it'd be like social commentary on gun violence in America. That would be, that would be the biggest like genre shift since like Aliens to Alien 3, where it's like Aliens is this uproaring action thriller, and then Alien 3 is like this existential religious parable.
AIDS metaphor.
Yeah.
I feel about that.
Yeah, me too. On that note, I think you and I are like the only two people who like Alien 3, and I want to talk about that for a second.
Yeah, Alien, my sort of Alien experience, like going way back, is in England, there used to be, I don't know if there still is actually, there used to be a channel called Sky Movies, and it was like Sky Movies 1, 2, and 3. And at midnight, they would have like horror films or creature features or whatever. And my parents used to let me stay up and watch it as long as I turned the TV down low, and that was it. And what I remember, like Monday night was Alien, Tuesday night was Aliens, and Wednesday night was Alien 3, and that's how I watched all the first three of them. And I really liked Alien 3 straight away because, I don't know, it's just something about it that I really liked, and I liked the fact that it was like loads of English actors who I recognized, and I love the ending thing, where they've got to close the doors and they're sort of herding it around. And I loved all that. I thought that was genius. And then I'd watched it a few times and I kept arguing with people, like saying, no, Alien 3 is the best one and so on. And then had a bit of a think. I was like, oh no, it's comparable. They're all pretty good. And then before Prometheus came out, like so my wife hadn't seen any of the Alien films. So we did, one night Alien all the way up until, so say, I think we went to go see Prometheus on the Saturday. So we did like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And we watched like the director's cuts and the assembly cuts and all that. And she, at the end, she was like, oh yeah, no, 3 was the best. 3 was the one that she sort of resonated with the most. She said, no, that was more, she was like, Aliens scared the shit out of me. She said, Aliens was too rah, rah, rah war film. She hates Alien Resurrection with a passion. And
I love it.
Alien 3. Alien Resurrection, the thing that annoyed her so much was there's a scene where I think it's like the captain of the smugglers goes to see, is it Dan Hedaya? He's just he's the captain of the big ship. And he has like a glass, and he puts the brown square, and it gets hit with lasers and turns into whiskey. And that just wound her up so much. She's like, that's just pointless technology. And it ruined the whole film for her. And she brought that up. She brought that up yesterday. We were talking about something, and she was like, what was that film with the bullshit whiskey lasers? I was like, oh, Alien Resurrection. Like, oh, I hate that film. still just twists in her heart. Like, so yeah, you're never going to win her over. It's Alien Resurrection.
See, that's kind of what I love about all the Alien movies. Even, I don't think Alien Resurrection's good. I think it's an interesting bad movie and an entertaining one, because you got Ron Perlman playing basketball, Sigourney Weaver in space. I mean, that's already a win for me. But Alien 3 is it's because as I got older, again, this is this age thing where I watch Aliens, I'm like, yeah, it's loads of fun, it's well directed enough. I think I don't think it's one of James Cameron's better directing efforts, actually. I think he manages tension very well. I think the director's cut is like, it really sours me on it. It goes on way too long, and it adds in stuff about Ripley's daughter that felt superlative.
It paints in missing pieces that you either didn't know were missing or didn't care. You know, they've been taken out for a reason, because it does. Yeah, when you've got, because Aliens, the director's cut has like scenes on the planet before the Marines go. Like, isn't there a kid on a tricycle or something?
Yeah, no, it's the kid in the tricycle, and then it leads into the hallway full of people working, and then it shows Newt's family as they find the crashed ship. And that just ruins all the tension.
Yeah, you don't need it.
Yeah. And it's not like the Hitchcockian bomb under the table, you know? It's like, you know that's already there, but then they're showing you that they're going to show you stuff later. So it's like a teaser for a teaser trailer, which is just ridiculous. But I think Alien 3 is great. We should probably have a whole other podcast on that some other time, because I want to stick mostly to Terminator. But what I do love about all the Alien movies, they're also different. They're all different genres, basically. Horror's the Alien. Aliens is the Vietnam War thing, where they go back and kick ass. And then Alien 3 is the David Fincher movie where everything's bleak and depressing, and you get one little glimmer of hope at the end, and that's kind of an amazing sequence to me. And then Alien Resurrection is like the very first draft of Firefly with aliens, and I kind of love how ridiculous and bad it gets. That's why I like it. But then back to Terminator, why I don't think these movies will ever be good again. There's no shifting of genres. There's no shifting of tone, really. You just get in some lesser directors than James Cameron. And there's nothing new to bring to the table. I mean, every sequel is already going to continuously shit on the no fate but what we make mantra of Terminator 2. But then it doesn't even do anything interesting with that. It's just like, oh, you can't avoid it. You can't avoid Judgment Day. But then nothing comes from that. I don't know. I mean, what do you think about that?
No, I mean, I think you're right. It's one of those sort of things. I think with the Terminator films, I think it's one of those weird sequel things. Because Terminator 1 sort of lends itself to possibly a sequel, but Terminator 2 is pretty much a closed circle. You are like, okay, this is done. And then I've watched Terminator 3, but I haven't seen Salvation, which I'll get to in a minute. But Terminator 3, like you say, it is that thing of like, oh, you're always going to get Judgment Day. Like, well, why bother then? Why bother with any of this? You know, because the whole scene of like Miles Dyson dying in Terminator 2 is amazing. You know, he's like holding the bomb, he's like, and he drops it. That's really good. I remember that haunting me when I was a kid, but it's for nothing because Skynet wins, and it always wins. You know, but like Salvation, I never watched Salvation because of fucking McG or whatever his name is, the director with the stupid name.
McG, who I will always be thankful because he gave me Chuck. That's the only reason I'll ever be thankful. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. He's given me nothing. I just remember because I was quite excited. I was like, Christian Bale, John Connor, all about that. That sounds amazing. And then every time McG was interviewed, he was like, right, fans are gonna like it because you're gonna see the origin of Kyle Reese's Nikes, and you're gonna see why John Connor uses that computer with the credit card in Terminator. You're like, no, I don't need to see the origin of someone's fucking shoes. What the hell, dude? And just every time I saw him interviewed, he used to say more and more things like that. I'm like, nah, this is just, I don't know what this is going to be, but I want no part of it. And I think the reviews sort of validated me, because as soon as it came out, everyone was just like, it's just lifeless. It's just nothing. That's what I hear anyway. But yeah.
You're not wrong.
Okay.
I kind of like it more than Terminator 3 because it's not lit like a sitcom, but at the same time, yeah, it's totally lifeless for like 2/3 of the movie. I do like the last third quite a bit, but even then, I'm not going to recommend anybody go out and watch it. Even as if it was on cable, maybe have you seen Shooter with Mark Wahlberg?
I have not. No.
Okay, it's not good, but on cable, it is excellent. It is the perfect cable movie. That's why it's on 24/7 in America on FX.
There is I do have a theory about something like that. There is the idea of a movie can be incredibly bad, but if you watch it in a hotel room or on an airplane, different movie. There's comedies that are funny if you sat on an airplane that you would never go anywhere near in the real world. Because, for whatever reason. There's a movie, I think it's Chris Evans, Push, when they're in Hong Kong and they're like mutants, like an X-Men.
Oh, yeah, I remember, yeah.
I've watched that film about 6 times, and only in hotel rooms and planes, and I love it. But I know that if I was to get the DVD or get it on Netflix and sit and watch it, I'd probably be like, oh no, this is really shitty. But my experience has always been, I've been like in a hotel room somewhere and just been flicking through the channels, and it's come on, I'm like, oh shit, Push, love this movie. And I've just sat down and watched it, got a bit of room service, and been happy. But in the back of my mind, I know what it is.
It's good to have that kind of self-awareness,
yeah.
That way you don't get people involved in a bad movie situation. They're like, why'd you show me this movie? It's like, oh, I thought it was good. And then you kind of just walk away with your head hung low.
Shit.
Yeah. But
I think we're going back slightly to when we were talking about do you need sequels and stuff like that for the Terminator films? I did. So in preparation for this podcast, I was thinking of if I had to pitch a Terminator sequel, I think I have one. If you'll indulge me.
Absolutely.
So you make Terminator 1, you make Terminator 2 exactly as they are. Terminator 3, you go back to in Terminator 1 where Kyle Reese is talking about the camps and things like that, and he's like, the machines had us trapped and we all lost hope, and then one man stood up and he taught us to rally and to fight, and that's John Connor. I think you make that movie. So the third film, you start it, you put text, Skynet became self-aware in August 1997 or whatever, and then you have Kyle Reese, he's in the camps, it's just really bleak, and then John Connor sort of rallies them and they create the resistance. And then you've got this very interesting dynamic then, because you've got John knows that Kyle's his father, but they'd be the same age. Kyle would hero worship him. John knows that eventually he's got to send him on a suicide mission. And he's also got to convince this guy to fall in love with his mother via a photograph. You've got all that kind of stuff. He knows the script he's got to play out. And you'd have that weird sort of buddy dynamic of oh, this is my father who I've never met, but we're the same age, and he thinks I'm God, and I've got to eventually send him back in time to meet my mother, conceive me, and die. That's something that's got to happen. So that's your movie. You sort of have them fighting the machines, and then the end of it, they find the Skynet time machine just as baddie Arnie gets sent back. So Kyle Reese has to go, and the end of the movie is John and Kyle sort of tearful farewell. Kyle goes back in time, and in credits, and the credits stop, and it comes back, and then they hear alarms. They run down into another room just in time to see the T-1000 get sent back. So John takes all his dudes into a big Raiders of the Lost Ark warehouse full of Arnies, and he's like, right, we've got work to do. And that's how the film ends. Now, This is bear with me. There's a little bit more. So you've got 1, 2, and 3, and they'd all hang together. But you could then watch them 3, 1, 2. So you've got like 3 is a prequel to 1, or you can watch them. Hold on. 1, 3, 2. So 1 is Kyle Reese's story. Sorry, no, 1 is Sarah Connor's story. 2 is like Judgment Day, so it directly follows on from 1, but also is a prequel to 1. And it's also a prequel to 2, because at the end, you see the T-1000 getting sent back, so you follow that story on. Yeah, brilliant. That's it.
I love
Disconnect.
I love it so much. That is infinitely better than anything we're probably going to get from these new movies, and definitely better than what we got after Judgment Day, which, wow.
That is definitely like walking to work, just sort of thinking to myself, oh yeah, what would I do? Oh, yeah, by the time I got to work, I was like scribbling it on like a notepad. Like, oh my God, this might be genius. Or this is madness. Either way.
Madness and genius are not too far apart. So
well, that's it. Fine line.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but yeah, that's my sequel.
I like that sequel because I mean, I've done that too, but I think I did it more out of anger after, of course, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I go off on regularly. I'm a lunatic. Where I just scripted out a bunch of Spider-Man stuff because I was like, this will not be my Spider-Man. And then thankfully, that's all fixed up now.
Well, that's it. I mean, you can't. There is that sort of awful thing of when, like, if you like a film and then the sequel's crap, and the sequel sort of reflects badly on the original. You know what I mean? Like, drags it down. So you've always got that thing of like, yeah, I want to watch. Say, I haven't seen either The Amazing Spider-Man, but say like the first one was really good.
It was.
The second one is. Oh, okay, well, yeah, let's imagine a world, because I can't think of a good example. Well, that was fantastic. And then you'd have 2 be awful, and then that somehow makes 1 bad. You know what I mean? I like to call it the How I Met Your Mother effect. Like, the end of that show was so bad that it sort of like undid all the goodwill that the show had made over 9 years, and it was a crap show anyway, but it was entertaining. But that ending annoyed me so much that I can't even sort of like, if it's on TV, I get angry. Like just a random episode, like, you betrayed me, shit show.
No, here's the thing though, before more Terminator talk, because I want to ask you your thoughts on Genesis, Genesis. I actually liked the How I Met Your Mother finale. Hear me out. Don't throw anything through the computer screen. Because the show had lost me for like 3 seasons, and then a month before the show was going to air its finale, I thought, you know what? I stuck with the show this long. Even if it sucks, I want to be there for the end of it. I didn't make it. I had heard the big like anger the show had created, or the fans had grown to have towards the show because of the finale. Everyone's telling me like, you're going to hate it, blah, 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 blah. Just anger. And it was kind of uncomfortable to be around people, especially my friends who were so in love with the show, a lot of them, who I was like, I tuned out so long ago, guys, stop watching it, it's going to suck. And then I didn't like the last handful of seasons. I really like the finale because I feel like if that had happened maybe around season 3 and it was just like a 3-season show, then that would have been the perfect send-off, I think. Just like, oh, he was telling us this story because he was trying to get over the death of the mother, and Robin and him made that little agreement. But at the same time, it's not just like his wife died, now I get to go fuck Robin. It's the way I saw it anyways. I felt it was presented was that he had the love with his wife, and then like they had their time together, and obviously it had a tragic ending, but him and Robin were always going to end up together in some alternate universe, and then fate intervened and took his wife away from him, and then he gets to go be with Robin because they promised they'd be there for each other. I thought that was kind of sweet. Obviously, but maybe didn't handle as well with everyone.
Well, I think the thing is, if that had been the ending, like you say, 4 years ago, but I feel like the writers had sort of decided that was the ending and then just kept getting renewed. and they're like, okay, we'll just keep making more of these, but we're going to keep the ending that we had 3, 4, 5 seasons ago, and it's all going to work out just fine. And then you got to the end and it's like, oh, this was such a... I think for me, I didn't like the show, but I watched it out of sort of endurance. I think just I had to get to the end. And then just to get to the end and it to be crap was actually quite embarrassing, because I was like, oh, I watched this piece of shit show for 9 years and put up with people using shitty catchphrases and pointless plot lines and didn't get a reward out of it. You know what I mean? It's like at the end, it just turned on me and just like turned a mirror and just was like, you watched this. You did this to yourself. No one forced you. It's like, oh no. It just I was like, oh God, I've spent so much time watching this stupid show just to be turned on at the end. Like, well, it's my own fault. When you look into the abyss looks back at you, I guess.
You have a segment on Audiences Everywhere where you talk about TV shows or movies that could be TV shows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've done that a couple times, and then we of course have discussed the Spider-Man one a bunch of times. You had the awesome Alien, Terminator, RoboCop mashup.
Yeah.
What if someone remade How I Met Your Mother as a 2-hour dramedy? That was always my idea for the show. Like, wouldn't it have been better? Just a small little story. You don't need a TV series about how he met the mother, because maybe 10% of the stuff tied into how he actually met the mother. Maybe 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that movie exists, isn't it? I watched this on a plane, actually. It's called Definitely Maybe, with I want to say Ryan Reynolds, and it's the same thing. He's telling his daughter how he met her mother, and then it flashes back to, like, I think it's all the different girlfriends he had, and she's trying to guess which one it is, and like Amy Adams is in it, and I want to say Kate Beckinsale. It was okay, and I watched it on a plane. So read into that what you will. But it is pretty much the plot of How I Met Your Mother, but a 2-hour movie.
Oh, okay. Huh.
So
maybe if I'm on a plane, I'll check it out. Maybe. Okay, but yeah, okay. So now we're off of the How I Met Your Mother vent.
Yeah, that went on for a bit.
I think you've been the one who's most looking forward to Terminator 5. That's what I'm going to call it, just so I don't mix up the spelling and pronunciation anymore. You and I think Ryan were also. You guys are kind of
it's just me and Ryan, I think.
Yeah. Why is that?
Well, I'm realistic. I mean, it could be awful. I think I like the fact that they've gone for like a reboot or a remake, but they've taken the sort of J.J. Abrams Star Trek route. You know, they sort of said, right, we have a world where time travel exists, so we can dick around with that a little bit and move timelines and so on. It does seem as though basically a bunch of people have sat in a room and they've said, right, Arnold Schwarzenegger is in his 60s. How can we make him the Terminator? And that's it. And that's been the starting point. And then they've gone, what if he's the scientist who made the Terminators? No, that's rubbish. What if he's this? What if he's that? Or what if we just CG a young Terminator? And then someone's gone, he goes back in time earlier and he ages. Like, brilliant. Right, let's write a movie around that. You know, that seems to be like the cynicism is just sort of like, we've got Arnie's old, you need to make the Terminator old, go. Make that happen. So that's sort of, I can see this, you know, but I like the director's good, Khaleesi's good, my favorite Doctor Who's in it.
Oh, Matt Smith is your favorite?
Yeah, he's my doctor, definitely.
Cool. I like him. I wasn't sure if I liked a lot of his material, but he was good.
I think he's in some of my favorite episodes, and he wasn't. He benefited from having a better writer, I think, because David Tennant, a lot of his episodes are actually quite rubbish because Russell T Davies went. We're not talking Doctor Who. That's a whole different podcast. We'll go there another day. But yeah, I mean, I like the cast. I think there's some good. I haven't actually watched the new trailer with the massive spoiler, so I'm trying to avoid that.
Oh, you don't know?
I don't know, no.
Oh, wow.
I've managed to avoid it.
Yeah, wow. Okay, that's cool. I was going to talk
So
about
hopefully,
that, but I will not.
no. I am definitely on a new thing of trying to avoid trailers. Like I didn't watch any trailers for Interstellar, and I think that was a good thing. It was all just brand new. And I didn't watch any trailers for It Follows, which I finally got to see yesterday. And yeah, not having any trailers, sorry, I just dropped my speaker. No preconceived things, no idea where it was going. Yeah, that's me now. I think I'm gonna try my best. I mean, when something like Force Awakens or Batman vs Superman or Age of Ultron, I'm always gonna sit and watch those trailers because you've got to, But I'm trying to like more movies that I want to go see. I'm trying to go in blind. And when I saw, I think it was your roundup on Audience Everywhere, and you just put new trailer, massive spoiler. I was like, oh, okay, brilliant. Thanks. Diego saved me because I just waded in on that. So hopefully from now until opening day, I can stay away from that and not have whatever the spoiler is, no matter how hard people are trying to shove it down my throat. But we shall see.
But yeah, no, Terminator related. Just be careful. Like, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, but if you pull it off, that will be incredible.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try my best. I'm just sort of staying away from. I think Twitter's always going to be the killer. Because you are just sort of scrolling through, and then someone says, "I can't believe that." And you're like, oh, dude, what? Killing me, man. So yeah, I'm gonna try. Let's see what happens, maybe. But I'm, like I say, with Genesis, I'm realistic. It could be absolutely awful, but it's got people in it I like. I like the director. Who knows? Could be good. And I'm excited, but obviously not that excited by it. Yeah. I'm more excited to see that than I am to see Batman versus Superman, if that's anywhere to go on it.
You know what? Now I am too, because I didn't like the new Terminator trailer, but at the same time I did, because the spoilers were so fucking frantic and insane that I never would have predicted they would have gone this route, and I kind of like it. I don't know, maybe it'll be complete shit. But at the same time, like, what? How do you think of this? Why would you do that? I need to see this now. Like,
I think that's a very interesting marketing category.
They got my curiosity now.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like an interesting marketing thing of like, this is our spoiler. Come find out how we get to this point. Here is the ending. Come join us on the journey.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. I don't think it's the ending. I have a feeling this is like Act 1, maybe Act 2 type of a deal that people are blowing out of proportion for being a later spoiler.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll keep it vague for you. So
okay, cool.
Disrupt your little prism of movie going.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm not as excited as I am for, Ultron next week, and that's going to be great.
You guys get it? Oh my god, you guys get it so early.
I'm going to see it on Wednesday night.
Jesus Christ.
Which for you will be Tuesday morning?
Yeah.
No, Wednesday morning, I guess. Yeah, there's an early screening on Wednesday, and I managed to get tickets for it. So yeah, me and the wife are going to go watch that. So that's pretty good.
Oh, nice. I think the only risk I get it is I couldn't go to any of the early ones, so I think I'm going like the Monday or Tuesday of release here. I think it's like April 27th or something, but that's another thing entirely. Genesis, I think I really like Thor: The Dark World. I don't know how you feel about that movie, but I think it's loads of fun with a very simple, strung together little plot going on. I think the actors are all good. I think Christopher Eccleston's crazy underutilized, but he's got. I like the designs of the aliens and the dark elves that are creepy masks. I like the weaponry a lot, like the black hole grenades. Like it's pure sci-fi insanity, and I eat that stuff up. So yeah, I quite like that. And if he could bring at least that type of fun to a Terminator movie, I'll be like, okay, sure. That'll probably mean like a lot of other people won't like it, but then I had a good time,
But I think yeah, like we're saying at the start, like the big differences between like Terminator and Terminator 2 is like if Terminator 1 is like a horror film, and then Terminator 2 is more it's sort of more upbeat a bit. You know, there's more sort of action one-liners, there's a bit of comedy. I think the problem with, say, Terminator 3 is that they try to keep going on that trajectory. Like, okay, well, let's make it a bit more actiony and a bit more upbeat and throw in some comedy lines and have Arnie say talk to the hand and all that crap. Where I think there is, you know, you can do fun without it being cheesy. If you know what I mean, you can make a film that's like enjoyable to watch that isn't just like, oh god, it's like cringing. It's like, no, this film is fun. I'm having a good time. Yeah, I'm all about that. I think some of the stuff I've seen in the trailer with like the new T-1000, he's the Korean actor, but I can't remember his name, where he gets his arm into a knife and then throws it up and can chuck it. That's good. All about that. Get a bit inventive. That's a little thing I'm quite happy with to start. Okay, that's something new. Let's just see what happens. I don't know. Like I say, I'm excited in the most vague terms possible.
No, that's good though, because I mean, by this point the Batman vs Superman trailer is out, and I just came off the high from the Star Wars trailer where it just made me cry, and then the Terminator trailer where I was like, what the fuck is happening? I need to watch this movie now. And the Ant-Man trailer where I got my hopes up and I was like, hey, this might be good. They might salvage this thing. And then you have Batman vs Superman, like just a straight nosedive into mediocrity and depression.
I think I felt sort of on Twitter, anyone who said that they thought the Batman trailer was better than Star Wars got unfollowed. Just no. You are not operating on this, because I think it speaks to a deeper thing of Man of Steel was so shitty, and they learned nothing from it. No, they didn't come away and go, you know what a massive critique of this film was? We made a Superman film, but we used the Batman aesthetic to make it, and people didn't like that. So for the sequel, maybe move completely away from that, make a bit of a brighter primary color movie. Oh no, we'll just make a Batman movie and make Superman the bad guy, or is Batman the bad guy? I don't know. The trailer gave me nothing except for that long-winded rant about why they'd build a statue to him if they hate him.
There's so much not to like in Man of Steel. Like, I recently rewatched it, and I came away with less mixed feelings, but more just down on it feelings, and it's just like, oh, I wish I really liked that movie, but I so didn't. To avoid getting in a big BVS thing, Man of Steel thing, I'll just end that with, that trailer was shit. I don't know why people are so like excited about it. It's just grim, like hot topic stuff for people to jerk off to. That might be a little crude, but it's still not my thing. I miss Superman, where he's not Batman. But back to the Terminator thing. I want to see more creative designs from the actual Terminator creatures themselves, the robots. Because, I mean, one of the interesting things about Salvation, like probably the highlight for me, was the different types of robots in the future. Like, they had some ones like in a river that looked like giant worms that John Connor fought like hand to hand and everything. Like, if there was movie was more of that type of weirdness, I would have been on board. Like, that's my type of weird. And then there's like a giant Transformer one that's like clearly just there because Transformers was a hit. And then there was like motorcycle ones, and then that's how he used the thing. Yeah,
I did see that in the trailer.
Yeah, it was fine, but those were the highlights of it for me. I want to see more of that, and the trailer does hint, I'll say, at some newish stuff we haven't seen before.
Okay.
Yeah, God, it's hard because I was so ready to talk about like the spoilery stuff, but I'll refrain.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
If it gets spoiled for me, you'll be the first person I contact to be like, okay, yeah, what were we talking about?
Yeah.
Let's catch up.
I'll just add this in later since we're recording this before May anyways.
Yeah, there'll be like a bit of a smash cut and I'll be wearing a different shirt. Just like, so as we were just talking about.
And I'll have like a haircut by that point because
it's
getting too hot in LA.
Yeah.
All right, let's see really quick before we wrap up then. I think that's pretty much it. You have any final thoughts on the Terminator franchise or Yeah, just Terminator franchise in general.
I do think it was one of those things that Terminator 1, Terminator 2, great ideas, great sequels, but they don't lend themselves to a series of films. I think you can have Terminator 1 by itself, you can have Terminator 1 and 2, but then if like you were saying at the start, if you carry that on and just do the next thing where it's like, oh, another Terminator comes back in time to find one of the Connor family, then you can just do that forever. You know, you can just keep going and it just never ends, and it's just diminishing returns. I think it's like the Die Hard films. It doesn't lend itself to keep going. You know, it's sort of like it is a closed circle. Just stop. You know, but obviously when the money starts rolling in, like, okay, well, we've got this thing, how can we move it forward? Well, this worked, let's just do that for, you know, more and more, which is a shame, because the problem is it starts to dilute the quality of the original good films, because when you're watching Terminator 1, you sort of think to yourself, well, if Genesis is awful, then when you watch Terminator 1 independently, you'll be thinking of Genesis, and then it reflects badly backwards, you know what I mean? But I don't know. Who knows? It could be good. It could. I don't know. I want to say I'm excited for it, and I am. You know, the first trailer I saw, I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome, because you know, these characters, and I like what they're doing, and I like all this setting. But then the more I think about it, I think, oh, is this just going to be really awful? I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
I could fight you on that Die Hard one, even though the last one was probably terrible enough to have given me a brain tumor, and it just hasn't it hasn't hit me yet. Yeah, but we'll have a Die Hard discussion at some point. Die Hard and Alien. I got to get you back on for those.
Yeah.
But for Terminator, last couple thoughts. Yeah, it felt like they were getting desperate too, because there was no real buzz around the movie. Like, it was kind of sad when the official Terminator Twitter account was saying, retweet this or tweet out whatever page to unlock the Terminator Genesis trailer. And then like after like 6 hours or so, it was like 13%. And I was like, oh, there's no one really excited for this movie. And I don't know how long it took for them to get everyone, but then they finally released it. Maybe they just didn't get everyone and they released it anyways, because you got to have some good publicity. So I don't think it was a good trailer, but it got me interested. And they needed to drop a big bomb like that, and I think they knew.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, the trailer did its job. Hopefully, if the movie is that type of balls to walls, then at least it'll be interesting and unpredictable. So that's exciting to me. Where could people? Sorry, go ahead.
I say, like, you'd rather see like a sort of noble failure. You know, they sort of, rather than just rehashing the same shite, to have a crack at something new. And if it doesn't work, well, at least you kind of be like, okay, well, you know, kudos for trying. You know, it would be very easy to just completely remake the first Terminator movie. Just move some characters around, not cast Arnie, get Jason Statham as the Terminator, get, you know, the same cast to play, and just redo the whole film beginning to end. But to kind of go in and say, no, let's have a bit of a mess with it, even if they're only messing with it to accommodate Arnie's age, at least they should kind of have gone, okay, let's think a little bit outside of the box. Let's see what we can do. So, I don't know. Noble, anyway.
No, I like that idea. I like Jason Statham also as a Terminator. Yeah, I mean, okay, really quick then. One last question, because now you got me on this. How long do you see Arnold Schwarzenegger continuing to play a Terminator?
Well, I mean, they have said, haven't they, that this Genesis is start of a new trilogy, apparently. Yeah. I think, well, I mean, you've got to think he's going to end up dead by the end of this film, because that is sort of the traditional, Arnie ends up getting killed, doesn't he? Which, again, is law of diminishing returns, because, like, Terminator 3, gave a shit. You know, you'd seen the end of Terminator 2 where he gets lowered into the thing, and it's like it's genius. I mean, that's always going to be a thing. Yeah, you can't top that. You know, it is the sort of traditional story of the boy who has to shoot his puppy. You know what I mean? It's very much, it's just heartbreaking. So you've got to assume that with the sort of plot gymnastics they've had to do to get him into this film at that age, if he dies in this film, this is the last Arnie Terminator. But who knows? They might find a way to, maybe they'll bring it back as his voice or something. I don't know. But I think, give it up. It's probably done. Yeah, I like Arnie. I'm a big fan. I mean, a lot of his new stuff hasn't been great, but Last Stand was passable, I guess. And he's always the best part of the Expendables films. So,
yeah, I definitely agree with that. All right. Then on that note, I think we're going to wrap it up then. Where could the people find you on the internet, sir?
They can, you'll have to put links because I can't be bothered spelling things.
Oh, yeah, don't worry about that. I'll put the links.
Oh, cool. So the blog is the equiaticbind.com, and the Twitter is possibly equiatic_bind or just equiaticbind. And that's it, really. I don't think anywhere else I'm worth. Oh, and on Audiences Everywhere. Yeah, I'm usually on at least once a week. My productivity has taken a bit of a hit because of work and life being a pain in the ass. But yeah, I've got a few things I'm putting together now for this week. Obviously, your big. Can I spoil yours and Richard's big initiative?
Oh yeah, no, that'll be out by the time this goes up.
Oh, fantastic. Well, obviously, I'll have had some things out for your Avengers thing. And yeah, just come find me. Come find me on Twitter. Ask me some questions about How I Met Your Mother or Terminator or anything.
All right.
Well,
thank you very much for joining me, Sean. Very nice talking. This is the first time we've actually conversed outside of Twitter, so this is cool.
It is. Yeah, it was.
All right, I'll definitely have you on again. I got to talk to you about Die Hard now because I really like some of the sequels. But and Aliens, definitely Aliens, because we're the only ones who like Alien 3.
We'll have to do a trilogy, an episode, either a trilogy of episodes or an episode about trilogies.
I like you already. Okay, that was great. All right, we have been the Waffle Press podcast, and we have been professionally unprofessional.